Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Roast Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Fardaws Aimaq, the former Texas Tech player, has decided to transfer to the California Golden Bears. This is just another crazy move in the wacky world of the college basketball transfer portal, and a lot of the moves that have been made in the portal have been surprising. Some have not been surprising, and Fardaws Aimaq transferring to California is not surprising when you know why he made the move, but this move is still surprising to a lot of people that are wondering why he would transfer from Texas Tech, a solid team in the Big 12, to a team in California that finished 3-29 last season, and they were the worst team by far in the Power 5 in college basketball. Now, overall, Fardaws Aimaq, he's a solid basketball player. And the reason why he's transferring to California is to reunite with his former head coach, Mark Madsen, who was the head coach of Utah Valley when Fardaws Aimaq was with the Wolverines of Utah Valley, and he was having his most success in college basketball when Mark Madsen was his head coach. So I get Fardaws Aimaq wanting to reunite with his former head coach. But what doesn't make sense is why you would go to California for your last season of college basketball when the Golden Bears were 3-29 last season, and they're not going to be a vastly improved team this year. Mark Madsen will probably do everything he possibly can to be able to turn California around, but Mark Fox left California in a big hole. They were terrible last year at 3-29, by far the worst team in the Power 5 in college basketball. They struggled in all facets of the game, and you look at Fardaws Aimaq, he's been a journeyman in college basketball. His first season of college basketball, he averaged 5 points per game at Mercer, which he was starting to find his way in college basketball and try to find his footing. So I understand not having your best first year there, but then he transferred to Utah Valley, and that's where Mark Madsen comes into play. Mark Madsen was the head coach of Utah Valley, and you had Fardaws Aimaq transferring to the Wolverines to play for Utah Valley. That was a big move for Fardaws Aimaq because Utah Valley is a step up from Mercer, and he had his best success by far in college basketball when he was at Utah Valley. He averaged 13.9 points per game and 15 rebounds per game when he was at Utah Valley as a sophomore. 15 rebounds per game. He hustled and he played extremely hard for Mark Madsen, and then as a junior he averaged 18.9 points per game and 13.6 rebounds per game for the Wolverines, so he still played fantastic basketball for Utah Valley in the WAC for Mark Madsen, did a great job. But then Fardaws Aimaq decided to declare for the draft and enter the transfer portal and leave Mark Madsen in Utah Valley. He didn't go to the draft because he wasn't a player that the NBA was really looking at as a first-round pick. Even though Fardaws Aimaq is a great player, he's a really great rebounder, and he plays most of his basketball down low, but that's not the style of play that the NBA really wants today. That's why players like Oscar Tshiebwe are still in college basketball right now, even though we don't know what he's going to do, but Zach Edey as well, and Armando Bacot, all of these players are still in college basketball because the NBA does not covet players of that type anymore. So Fardaws Aimaq decided to enter the transfer portal, and he went to Texas Tech instead of staying at Utah Valley, and he had some injury issues going on, and that makes sense why his numbers were down, because he had injury issues going on while he was at Texas Tech this past season, and he was at a new team at the Power 5 level. So with all that going on, his numbers of averaging 11.1 points per game and 7.9 rebounds per game at Texas Tech makes a lot more sense. The Big 12 is the toughest conference in college basketball this past season, and he was also trying to find his way at a new school in the Power 5, and he had injuries going on, and he really struggled at Texas Tech. And you look at Texas Tech, their head coach Mark Adams just resigned due to off-the-court stuff, so I totally understand why Fardaws Aimaq wants to transfer from Texas Tech. I completely understand. It wasn't working out. You could have stayed one more year for your extra year of eligibility that Fardaws Aimaq has, just like every other college basketball player that had to deal with the stuff in 2020, so I get it why you want to leave Texas Tech. But see, now this is your fourth school, and it kind of reminds me of a JT Daniels situation in college football where he's transferred from USC to Georgia to West Virginia to Rice. It just kind of seems like Fardaws Aimaq's moving around way too much, and that's hurt his college career. I'm not saying that's going to prevent him from being an NBA player potentially. I'm not saying this is the sole reason why he's had an up and down career, but Fardaws Aimaq will now be going to his fourth school. And will that work out? I think it does help with the fact that you do have Mark Madsen being the head coach of California, and that's why he's making the move to reunite with his former coach where he had the most success. I get that. I think that's a good move by Fardaws Aimaq. But why would you transfer to a school that was 3-29 last year? I have no idea. California was a bad basketball team. Mark Madsen won't be able to fix it. So if Fardaws Aimaq doesn't care about making the tournament and he just wants to shine with his former head coach that brings out the best in him, I think this is a great move for Fardaws Aimaq, and maybe it will potentially help him be able to make the NBA after this next season because he could really shine at California at the Power 5 level, maybe average 18, 19 points points again and around 11, 12 rebounds, maybe start to expand your game a little bit. Fardaws Aimaq could go pro. It could help Mark Madsen as well be able to jumpstart California a bit, maybe get the Golden Bears to around 10 to 12 wins this year and say, hey, look what I did with Fardaws Aimaq. I got him to the pros, over the time at Utah Valley and now at California. More transfers come into California. We can make this program better. So maybe Fardaws Aimaq will help out California more than California will help out Fardaws Aimaq, because Fardaws Aimaq will not make the tournament with California this season unless somehow the Golden Bears have a massive turnaround and Mark Madsen can bring in some more transfer portal players and high school recruits that will be able to turn around in year one. I don't think that will happen. I just think there's too much odds stacked against California right now. But the only way this makes sense for Fardaws Aimaq is to reunite with your former head coach Mark Madsen at Utah Valley, where you had the most success, potentially have a really good year at California, injury-free, play really great basketball, and be able to rediscover the success you had at Utah Valley, and to be able to get to the pros, which I think Fardaws Aimaq is capable of. But if he wants to make the NCAA tournament, this was a bad move. There's a lot of other teams that would have taken Fardaws Aimaq where he could have had success on a really good basketball team that could have made the tournament. But maybe that's not what Fardaws Aimaq wants. Maybe he doesn't want to be on a team where he can shine with others and make the tournament. Maybe he wants to shine the most himself, because he will be by far the best player on California. You're getting to reunite with your former head coach to be able to bring out the best in you, maybe make the NBA. I think looking at it that way, it is a great decision by Fardaws Aimaq to reunite with your former head coach. But if there was a lot of other things on the table, like making the tournament, being on a successful basketball team, it was an awful move, because California will not have a lot of success even with Fardaws Aimaq this year. But I do think at the end of the day, for Fardaws Aimaq, the reasons why he transferred to Cal to reunite with his head coach and potentially make the NBA by having a really good season where he had the most success under Mark Madsen, then I think this is a good decision by Fardaws Aimaq. It's a little bit confusing if you don't know the reason why he's going to California, because they were so bad, but when you find out why, because of Mark Madsen, then I do think it is a good move by Fardaws Aimaq. Hopefully he can have a lot of success at California and he'll be able to make the NBA draft. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Fardaws Aimaq transferring from Texas Tech to California, and why you think he made the move, if it was just because of Mark Madsen, and whether you think he wants to be able to make the NBA draft, and whether that's more important than making the tournament for Fardaws Aimaq. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I will see you next time.